So now on the API side, I have authenticated all the API. Okay. Means now APIs are not open. Means everyone can see this API, but if I try to access any API, let's say execute, see what I'm getting 401 unauthorized. Okay. So means I have added the authentication on the API side. Unless you send the token, what you get in the login API, you cannot access the API. Any API you cannot access now. Just the login API you can access because that is obviously because without login you can't get the token. So login API I have kept it as open. Means without sending the token also only login API you can access. Other than all the APIs are authenticated now. If you don't send the token, you cannot access it. Okay. Now let's just let's say this is the username, password. Okay. Now just pay attention. When I do the login, in the response, we get the token. In data, token property we have. So this token we need to send after the login. This token we get. So this token we need to store in the either local storage, session storage, somewhere we need to store. And after the login, whatever the API call we are making, in all the API call we have to send this token. In the header means, let's say if I go to the employee. See, currently API call is happening, but we are getting 401 means unauthorized. Okay. So whatever the token we have got from the login API that we need to send in the request headers here in one property authorization, bearer and the token. Key name will be authorization, bearer and whatever the token you got. Okay. So because I developed this API, so I have kept like that. API team will let you know that token in what key value pair data you need to send. Okay. Whenever we work on a project, API team is there, right? So API team will let you know like in what key value pair data you need to send the token. And always normally token we send in the headers only. We don't send token in the payload or in the parameter. Always in the headers we send it. Okay. So in my case, authorization, bearer, space, whatever the token we got that we have to send. Okay. So now while making the API call, we have to send the custom header. These are the default header we have. Now we have to send our own headers also. Okay. So let's first see instead of going with the interceptor, how can we send the header? Hmm, add headers in HTTP call Angular. While making API call also we can send. Yeah, like this. Okay. Now in our service, let's say which was the service, get all employee. So in the employee.ts, get all employee. So this is our API call where this is our function from where we are actually triggering the API call, right? Now here we have to create the headers. See, if you check the get API function, what are the parameter it has? Get function, how many parameter it has? How many parameter get function has?
Mhm. I think two.
Only two, right? URL and the option. And in option, you can see header, right? So this object we have to pass. So first URL is already we are sending. Now second object we need to pass, and in that we need to pass the headers. Okay. So that is nothing but we are writing it over here. See, HTTP headers we need to import. Now authorization, bearer after that token we need to send. Remaining we don't need to send. We just need to pass the token. Now, once we do the login, from the login API, we are going to get the token, right? So that token we need to store. Let's store it into the local storage because this data also we are storing to the local storage. So local storage dot set item client token comma data dot token response dot token. In response, we are going to get the whole object, token and the data, right? In data, we have the object. So we need to store the token. So response dot token. Okay. Let's see now first. Username, password, sign in. Okay. So in the response, we got the token. That token, okay, in the data it was there. Now it might turn out because we have written result dot token. It is in the data result dot data dot token. This is how we are getting the token. Currently it might be stored, but it might be undefined or something. See, because in the response we didn't have that property token. In the response dot data dot token. Okay. Let's go over here again. Q. Items Q. Okay. Now if you check the application in the local storage, in the client token key, we have got the token, whatever the token we got from the login API that we have stored in the local storage. Now in employee.ts, here you need to pass the token. Okay. So let's read the token. Constant token is equal to local storage dot get item. And what's the key name? So our key name is key client token. So this we have to pass it over here. So we will get the token over here. So this token we need to pass it over here. So this is our single quote. Now instead of that, let's use the template literal. And then over here, dollar curly bracket and our variable. And this header, we will pass it over here inside the object. Okay. This is how we send the header. We are making the API call from over here. So while doing this API call, we are adding our own headers into our API call. Fine. Let's save. Let's add a debugger at employee also. If I go to the employee, see, we got the debugger over here. We read the token, we created header with the authorization and the bearer, and then we are passing it along with the API. Continue. Now, if you see, we got the response. Previously, it was saying 401. Now, if you check the header, see, authorization, bearer, space, token. Got it? So, if you pass the token inside the header while making the API call, you will get the data. Otherwise, it will be 401 unauthorized. Let's say if I change the token. So, at the starting, I'm writing 11. Now, whatever the token we got, I change it. So, it's not a valid token, right? Now, if you see, if I refresh again we will get unauthorized. See, 401. Because the token we have received from the API, we have changed. This is not a valid token, right? I change it. So again, we got the 401. So all the APIs are authenticated. If you pass the valid token, then only you will get the response. Okay, if I change it back, let's reload. See, now it is success. Got it? So in get employee, we have added that. Let's say if I move back to the client project, again in the project also I am getting 401. So while making this API call also again we need to send the token, correct? As I said, whatever the API call you are doing, after login, whatever the API call you are doing, in every API call you need to send this header. So again we need to copy this and then in the project.service.ts in this function we need to do it. Let's add the import. And we need to send the headers also over here. So in almost every API call, you need to do this. See, now this API also started working. Got it? But this code is repeated. Everywhere this piece of code is getting repeated.
Yes.
Here also, and whatever the number of API calls we are going to do in client, in master, everywhere this if custom header we need to create and pass it in the get API call function. Correct? So this is kind of repeating. Correct? So how we can, instead of repeating this code, how we can move this in a single place, not by using interceptor. I don't know the interceptor. So instead of repeating this code again and again, how we can minimize this piece of code?
Reusable component.
Reusable component. Why you will create reusable component? This code has to do anything with the UI? Is there any
No.
relation with the
No.
UI? Then why you will need component? Right? Whenever there is a reusable UI and functionality which is getting repeated, then only you will go for the reusable component. No? If your code is only getting repeated, what you do?
Stores.
Hmm? Array. In this example, our only code is getting repeated, right? This code.
Common service.
Yeah, either in common service, you will put this function, and wherever you need the token, you will call, right? Let's say over here in the master service or something utility, I have created this get headers. Okay, like this, and I will return the headers. Correct? I have created a function, and whatever function is creating a headers with reading the local storage and returning it. Now, wherever I need to send the token, I don't need this piece of code. I will just call. First, I need to integrate that service also over here again. What is that? Private master colon master. Okay. So now we are here instead of header, this dot master. mm, Get header. And then this header, I will pass it over here. Right? Why it is showing error? We need to provide the data type also. Colon HTTP headers. Why it is not allowing to use like that? Header does not exist in the type headers. Data type is also it is getting. What's wrong? We just copy pasted, right? Header object only we are returning. Missing error. Same data, instead of writing it over there, we have moved that to that function. But header does not exist. Okay, let it be. Anyway, we are not using like that. Forget about this. I think it needs proper data typing. Fine. So see, the point is, instead of writing this code again and again, even though if we move it to the service again, that service everywhere we need to inject again, it is going to be repeated. So a better way to do this in Angular is the interceptor. Okay, means whatever the header. So interceptor is a service. Okay, previously it was a service, now it is an arrow function. Up to Angular 16 it was a service, but after Angular 16 we got it as a service, got it as arrow function. So interceptor is a thing which monitor all the incoming API call and outgoing API call also. So when I say incoming API call and outgoing API call, what does it mean? What does it mean by incoming API call? And what is outgoing API call? Hmm. What do you mean by incoming API call?
Request.
No. Then what is outgoing?
Getting data and sending data.
Getting data means which one? Outgoing or
Like you
incoming?
play records.
I'm asking, see, when you make the API call, there are two types, incoming and outgoing. What will be incoming and what will be outgoing?
Get will be incoming.
Hmm.
Post put outgoing.
No. Only one API call is there, I'm saying. When we make the API call, forget about gate post. When we make a one API call, there will be incoming and outgoing. Now, what will be incoming and what will be outgoing?
First time making API calls incoming.
When we
For token.
When we make the API call from Angular application, our API call is going to the server. So that is outgoing, na? From our application, request is going, correct? And once we get the response, that is incoming from the server, we are getting something back. So that is incoming. Okay. So Interceptor sit between your Angular application and the API application, and it monitor all the incoming and the outgoing request. Understood now? So when you make the API call from your service, if you implemented this interceptor from your service, now we didn't implement the interceptor. So from here only API call is triggering. Once you create the interceptor, after this it will go to the interceptor. Then it will trigger the API call. And once it got the response, again it will come to the interceptor, then it will come to the service, then it will go to the component. Okay. So interceptor monitor all the incoming and outgoing requests. Means all the API call requests will go through the interceptor. Got it? That's the definition of interceptor. Interceptor monitor all the incoming and the outgoing request. Okay. Whenever we are making the API call, when we trigger the API call, it will go through the interceptor. And once we get the response, again, it will come through the interceptor only. Okay. Now, so how you create the interceptor? So right click, open a new terminal.
I did not get the use of this.
Yeah, I will tell you. ng generate. We need to send the header along with, because our APIs are authenticated now. So whatever the API call we are making, whenever we are making the API call, we need to send the header, correct? So how we are sending the header? Wherever we have the API call, there we are creating the header and we are passing it over here. This is one way, but this is getting repeated everywhere. We have to create this. This is the problem we are facing, correct? So to solve this, we can add this header in a one place, that is interceptor, because all the API call will finally go to the interceptor. See what I said, interceptor. When you implement the interceptor, all the API call will go finally from the interceptor. So that is the place, single place where we will create the header. Okay. See now, interceptor, let's say token. I'm creating the interceptor. And while writing the command, you cannot write I. Use only long form, because ng generate I will use before interface also. If you need to create interceptor, you need to write complete interceptor. Don't use shortcut. So we have created an interceptor. Okay. So now see how does interceptor look like this. So here you see request. So request is nothing but your whole API call object, whatever the API call object data you have created, now that you will get it over here. Whole API call data. So whatever the request you got, let's just add a debugger. I just wanted to explain like how this interceptor gets executed. So we created the interceptor, but it won't execute. We need to register this interceptor in our app config. Okay. Once first you create the interceptor, then you need to register that interceptor in your provide HTTP client. Inside this with interceptor you need to write. And here, what type of data it needs? This function, what type of data it needs? What type of data this function needs? See na this. What type of data this function need? What's the data type? Okay, see this provide router. What kind of data it needs?
Routers.
How many
Routes, array.
parameters this provide router function has? How many
Two.
parameter?
Two, two.
Routes and features. What is the data type of routes? Routes.
Routers.
Routes is nothing but array of routes. See? Okay.
Okay.
Just like that, what is the data type we have to pass to the provide HTTP client with interceptor?
HTTP features.
But see na symbol
With
array.
Function, array.
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 Okay. We
Yes.
have to pass the function, but array. Because in your application, you can create multiple interceptor. Okay. So that's why here you have to pass it as an array. Okay. Now your interceptor function name, token interceptor. This function name you need to pass it over here. Let's add the import. Got it? We can create multiple interceptor. That's why we have to pass it as an array over here. Okay. Clear? Understood? So you create the intercept and then you pass the interceptor in your app config like this. Okay. Now, see, let's log off again. Once I make the API call, currently I'm where in the component. Okay. Let's add a debugger in the service also. Fine. Currently, where is the debugger? In the component. From component, it will go to the service. Okay. Currently, we are in the service. If our interceptor was not implemented, from here only API call would have been triggered directly. But now, since we have created interceptor, now from here, it will go to the interceptor. See, it came here. And now whatever the API call data is there, see, URL, post, body, everything, your whole API call data, we are able to get it over here. From here, actually API call will trigger. And then we will get the service in the, then we will get the response in the service and then component. Got the flow? So from your component, it will go to the service. From service, it will go to the interceptor. And there, from there, actually, it will trigger the API call. Understood? And in the interceptor, you get the whole data. If I go to the employee, see again. We are in the service. Again, it go to the interceptor. See in the request. Everything, your whole URL, data, everything you get it over here. Method, get, do we have a body, parameter is there or not? Got it? So here also you can see we have header. Okay. So this header you can modify over here. So instead of writing this code to inject the header everywhere, you can move this code into our interceptor. Okay. So this is the original request, API call request we are going to get. So we need to clone it. We need to copy it into another variable. Okay. So how do we copy? First, we will read the local storage data. Constant token is equal to, how we read the token? Local storage dot get token. We got the token. Then we need to create a new variable, constant clone request. Request, original request dot clone. Clone means what's the use of clone? What is the meaning of clone? What will be the meaning of clone?
Exact replica, copying of the
Copying,
request.
right? So whatever the data we got, we are cloning that. Okay, round bracket. Then we have curly bracket. Now over here, we will add our header. So if you see, set header function is there. set header colon, we need to add our own header. What was our key? Authorization. How do we need to pass the data? Bearer, then our token. Space, dollar, curly bracket. And this token we need to pass. So whatever we did over here, same thing we have done it over here. Now we don't need to do that thing over here. From here, our normal API call will go. So your services won't be hampered now, because token you are passing from a interceptor. And this is the original request. By using original request, you have created a new request by adding the token. Now this new request you have to pass over here. Okay. This request from the service, you will get the request. This request you are cloning into a new variable, but while cloning, you are adding your headers also. Okay. And then this clone request you are actually triggering. Okay. Now if you see, and from the service also we remove that custom header, but still you don't need to do that now. See, here also we got authorization, bearer and the token. Got it? In the employee. If I navigate to the project, see here also I got it. Why client is not coming? In client component, we didn't write the API call or what? Client. Okay, I think we didn't integrate the function. Okay. In add employee, we will have it. See, get all role, get all designation, all API call a success. Why? Because in the interceptor, you have actually done that. See, if I go to the project, here, interceptor got executed. You have added the token, and that now new request along with the token, it is going. Again, if I go to the employee, from service, it will go to the interceptor, and it is adding the token, and then it is passing it. Clear? So this is your interceptor. So all the outgoing requests are going through the interceptor. So while your API call request is going, you can actually modify your headers. Okay. And as I said, key incoming also means when response is there also we can execute, right? So you can add dot pipe. Now see, all our API call response means for this project, all our API call response is like result data dot message we are getting, right? So let's say you want to check the status, what do we say? Status code, like is it 201, is it 401? Like if it is 401, we have to show the alert box like API, please pass the token. If the status token, if the API response is 401 status code. See, currently status code is 200. If we don't pass the token, we get 401. If the response code is 401, we have to show the alert like send token. So that also we can do error handling in a single place. Okay. So map pipe, then map, I think. Let me find it. How do I write it? How to show who handle interceptor. Now we have to do the error handling in an interceptor. Means how do you get the response, and then also it will come to the interceptor, and then it will send it back to the service and then to your component. Next dot handle pipe. Okay, catch error is there. Instead of map, we have to use the catch error. Error data type will be HTTP error. What's the data type? HTTP response error. HTTP response error. Why it is saying error? Okay, finally return through. Throw error. Now here we can add a check. If error dot status is equal to 401, then we will show the error like alert, please send token. Okay. Let's say again, if we have 500, right? So else if error dot status is equal to, what do we mean by 500? When do we get the 500? When do we get 500?
Server side error.
Server side error. If API is not working, API issue. Else if error dot status 400. When do we get 400? When do we get 400?
Authorization.
No, that is 401. 400. See, let's say if we check this API, what is the input it needs? What type of input this API need?
Array of
Suppose
the
statement,
object.
array of object. And if you pass object, it will provide you 400. Got it? This API needs array of object, and if you pass the object, it will get you 400. Invalid body means what is expected, and you didn't send like that. You send something else, so it will get you the error. Okay. Let's say create employee. Create employee need all these properties, but if you don't send one or two properties, you will get 400. Whatever expected is there with the API, and if you don't send that, so you will get 400. That is invalid body. Okay. So it will say check your payload. That body or object we send, that we normally call it as payload. Like this, you do the error handling. Okay. So let's add a debugger over here. Project. So see, from here API call is going. Okay, because API call is success. Because we handled only catch error. Just like the catch error, we can have the map also. Map result colon any return result. Okay. See, in case of success, your map will execute. In case of error, catch error will execute. See now. API call is going. See, map we got. Wait, why we got 400? Please say token. I think token got expired. For some time only it is valid. Let's try login again. I think 5 to 6 minutes I have made it valid. Okay, API call is going. See, result, body. See the response you got. Getting it? Whatever the API call response is there, here you got it in the map. So as I said, interceptor sits between in your API call. Request also goes through interceptor, and when the response came, that also go through over here. See, we got the response over here, then it will send it back to your service, then it will send it back to the component. See, got it? So now, just like how you are modifying the request, you can modify the response also before sending it back to the service and to the component. So interceptor sits between your Angular application and the actual API call. Whatever the requests are happening, API call is going on, all will go through your interceptor. Got it? So normally we use interceptor to send the token. Again, there are many use cases, but 90% or 80% time we use interceptor to send the token like this. and to do the
सर
error handling like this. Yes.
जो हमने बैरियर जो बैक को इस बैक कोड में डाला है वो सिंगल कोड या डबल कोड में नहीं डाल सकते क्या? मतलब क्या रीजन है वो बैक टिक यूज करने के लिए?
नहीं, ये भी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन फिर वो अपने को, वेट, मुझे मीटिंग फिर से चालू करने दो। क्या क्या अपन ने एक्सप्लेन किया था? क्वेश्चन ही था ना कि वो
यस।
पाइप का क्वेश्चन था सर, और
पाइप,
नेक्स्ट डॉट है।
नहीं ये तो अपन ने पहले ही कर लिया था, सिर्फ मैंने पाइप और मैप और एरर, ये फिर से मैं बताने वाला हूँ पाइप का यूज।
इफ टोकन है नल वाला है भी बाद में डाला है सर।
हाँ, ठीक है। तो क्वेश्चन क्या था कि अगर लॉगिन के टाइम पे मेरे पास एपीआई, लॉगिन जब करता हूँ तो तब तो मेरे पास टोकन है ही नहीं, तो अगर मैंने ये कोड नहीं डाला रहता, लेट्स सर्कल इट बैक, मेरा एग्जिस्टिंग कोड ऐसा है, राइट? सो इफ वी at the login we don't have the token, right? User is not logged in, so obviously we don't have the token, but again we are making the API call, so interceptor will execute. So if the token is not there, still in authorization, see now if I save, let's see how does it happen. Rama, q sign in, see still after login it goes to the API call, right? But here if you see token is null because in the local storage we don't have any data. Okay, now if you check the network, it won't do anything, it won't break anything. Where is the authorization? See, authorization here is there, but here we are passing null. It won't break anything, but if we don't have the token, there is no need to send this also, na? Right? So to avoid this, we can just add a null check over here. If the token is there, then only we will modify the request. Otherwise, we will pass the actual request whatever we got. That's it. Okay, we just added a null check. We are checking if the local storage has the token or not. Clear? So why we use the interceptor? To modify the header and to format the response or to do the error handling. Three use cases. First, modify the header, format the response, means here you can format the response also whatever you get, and here you do the error handling. Okay, these are the use cases of your interceptor. Once you create the interceptor in your app config, you need to add this also with interceptor and your interceptor name. Like this, you can create your multiple interceptor also and all will execute. Currently, we just have one. If you create one more interceptor and based on the sequence over here, let's say this is the first. So first this will execute, then it will execute the second one. Okay. But normally we go with one interceptor only because here only we can, this is incoming and this is, sorry, this is incoming and this is outgoing. We can do like that. But sometimes companies will create for error handling, they will create another interceptor also. Clear?
Sir,
Hmm.
previously what happened in the routes array, we for the specified route we can set the
Hmm.
interceptor,
Guard.
right?
No, not interceptor, guard. On the route, we used to add the guards, right?
Okay.
The interceptor is not related to routing. Is it related to routing?
No.
Right? It is related to API call. So no relation with the routing.
And what if like we are hitting the
Hmm.
two different server in our application
Still doesn't
and
matter. API call.
in
URL can be anything. If your API calls, so let's say you have 3 or 4 API call, different API server. One is like this. One is from free API, mini project idea. So another is from project API. Something, it can be anything. But it's an API call,
right.
right? All the API call will go through the interceptor. Doesn't matter server, doesn't matter URL, doesn't matter method. All the API call will go through over here. Okay. Here you get that request.url and everything. Again, if you want, according to the server, if you want to some, let's say if the server is free api.miniprojectideas.com. You need to send some different header. So what you can do, again, if request dot URL. In URL, you get everything. So there also you can add a check like does it contain free API? So you can add this header. If contain project API, it will add, you can add different header. Okay. But all doesn't matter if it is gate, post, different URL, different server, all API call will go through over here. Okay.
I got it.
Because it is not related to your particular URL. API call. URL can be anything. Server can be anything. All your API call will go through over here. Okay. Only if you implemented the interceptor. If interceptor is not implemented, then from your service only API call will trigger. That's it. Okay. Clear? This is very important. It has to be very clear whenever explanation is required. From the interview perspective, it is very important. Clear all?
Only they ask use of interceptor or
Use of interceptor only.
nothing else.
They won't ask you to implement it. Only use of interceptor. So by using interceptor, first you need to explain like what is interceptor. Interceptor acts as a mediator or it monitor all the incoming and outgoing request API call. Okay. Whenever you do the API call, it will monitor all the incoming and outgoing also. So if you can monitor, you can actually modify the incoming request and outgoing request also. So we use interceptor to send the custom header and to handle the API error in a single place. Instead of writing this code in every component error block in the subscribe error block, you can write the error handling at a single place. And you can actually format the response also here by using map operator. Here we are directly returning it. But see, all our API call is returning this type of data, result data message. But let's say you just need to return the data. So what you will do? Result dot data you will do. So in a single place, you can now all your API call function you will change. There we used to do result data, right? So now what you need to do? Just result, because in the data, whatever the actual response you are getting, that we are responding. But we need that result property also and message property also. So that's why we don't do it. Understood?
Yes.
Okay.
And how we are going to check token is valid or not?
We cannot check that. API will check that. If the token is invalid, it will send the 401. Again, we need to get the new token. Okay. Normally say whenever we are working in the log banking application. So after some application, you get the pop-up or you get automatically logged out, or you will get the pop-up like, do you want to continue your session something? Right. So whatever the token validity is there, let me show the API code. Clients drive. Ten minutes. See. Expire. This is how I'm creating the token. While creating token, I'm adding the expiry time, that is 10 minutes. Okay. So once you got the token, that token will be valid for 10 minutes. Okay. After 10 minutes, again, you will get the 401. So again, it depends on the security required for your application. API team will sometimes keep it as 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, 1 day. It can be anything. Okay.
This C# or
This is
.NET?
C sharp. C sharp. Again, this is same. If you work on the Java also, on a same piece of code will work over there also, because it's a JWT token. You can use the JWT token in .NET also, in C sharp also, Node.js also. Just code will be little bit different, but almost syntax will be same. Okay. This function I'm using inside login function. See, this is your login API. So I'm getting the token, and that token I'm passing it over here like this. Clear? In the data, I'm passing token and the data. That's how you are getting over here. Response like this. See, From API call, I'm passing like object like this. In data, I'm passing token property and data property. That's how you are getting it over in data, data, and the token. And in data, I'm passing the user objects. Age exists. I'm getting the employee, whole employee object by matching username and the password. If the record exists, I'm passing the data. Otherwise, I'm passing the error also. In this case, result is true. In this case, result is false, and along with the message. This is your API call for the login. Here you can see I have added allow anonymous. That's why without providing the token also you are able to access. But if you check the controller, above the controller I have added authorize. Means all the APIs are authenticated. This you can add it on the every method also. But instead of adding every method, we have added it over here. But just our login API has the anonymous. Got it? That's why this API we are able to access without passing the token also. If I remove this, you won't be able to access the login API also. You need to pass the token. Clear? Okay. Anyone having any doubt? Okay, fine. So apart from Ramesh, everyone so said like Saturday or something now. So make sure you start working on this. I have added the code also everywhere. Okay. If you check project, token expired, I think. You go to the project. Why project data is not loading? API call is happening. Okay, I removed the data yesterday. Project. What was the path name? You have to create the data from Swagger. Just create the data first. Project detail /1. Okay. So you can see this is the single project information. Whatever the ID you got, you need to integrate the get API call, get project by ID, and you will get the data that you will populate over here. This is the employee UI, employee form. Here you don't need the project because I created from the bold, so it has provided me this. But here you don't need this because in the input you already have the project ID. Meeting data, meeting UI, change log. Okay. According to the UI, according to the object only, you have the forms and everything. Okay. You just don't need the project. You have to remove it. And the payment also. All the UIs at code pushed. Okay. You just need to do the API call integration and data binding. That's it you need to do. Okay. So make sure you complete it. Hmm.
If it is so,
Hmm?
वो
आवाज
कौन सा API यूज करना है?
let's say what is your tab?
Project details.
Project details. So project detail, what you just need to, this is like a update mode, right? So you just need to show the data and here you need to do the update API call. Okay. Right. Whatever we are opening a project, right? So here we need to render the project data. So where is that?
फिर वो आ गया, मेरा डेटा आ गया, पेज कर दिया मैंने
That's
डेट
it.
कॉल
और यहाँ पे
बट
आपको
वो जो
अपडेट API कॉल करना है.
ना वो अपडेट का पेंडिंग है, बट ऊपर थोड़ा सा प्रोजेक्ट लीड का एक सिलेक्ट बॉक्स है, देखो। हाँ, इधर
यहाँ
मुझे
प्रोजेक्ट लीड कौन करने वाला है? वेयर इज द प्रोजेक्ट लीड? प्रोजेक्ट लीड कौन करने वाला है? एम्प्लॉय. यहाँ पे तुमको एम्प्लॉय आईडी मिल रहा होगा ना, तो यहाँ पे तुम क्या करोगे? एम्प्लॉय का डेटा बाइंड करोगे. यहाँ पे भी क्लाइंट का डेटा बाइंड करोगे. सो यहाँ पे तुम्हें दो एपीआई कॉल करने पड़ेंगे, गेट ऑल प्रोजेक्ट एंड गेट ऑल क्लाइंट. सो वो यहाँ पे तुम्हें बाइंड करने पड़ेंगे.
डेट
देन
ऑल प्रोजेक्ट।
गेट ऑल प्रोजेक्ट और गेट ऑल क्लाइंट बाइंड करोगे, तब जाके जो एम्प्लॉय आईडी होगा वो एम्प्लॉय सिलेक्टेड रहेगा, जो क्लाइंट आईडी रहेगा वो क्लाइंट सिलेक्टेड रहेगा. करेक्ट? फॉरेन की है ना ये दोनों.
हाँ,
फॉरेन की के केस में अपन गेट एपीआई कॉल करते हैं और बाइंड करते हैं, वैसे ही करना है. ओके. और बाकी सबकी एपीआई मैंने कल एक्सप्लेन की थी, जैसे एम्प्लॉय हो गया तो एम्प्लॉय की सारी एपीआई यहाँ पे है। बट हमें ये वाली एपीआई नहीं करना है, गेट ऑल प्रोजेक्ट एम्प्लॉय, गेट एम्प्लॉयज बाय प्रोजेक्ट आईडी, बिकॉज जो प्रोजेक्ट ओपन किया उसी के एम्प्लॉय दिखाना है ना। सो इस गेट एपीआई के लिए ये वाली एपीआई यूज कर, वैसे ही सारे के लिए बाय प्रोजेक्ट आईडी बाय प्रोजेक्ट आईडी वाली एपीआई है वो यूज करना है, ना कि गेट ऑल वाली। ओके, सो चालू करो, जिसको भी डाउट होता है मेरे को तभी के तभी पूछ लिया करो। ओके, तब जाके अपन कंप्लीट करेंगे ये 1-2 दिन में।
सर किस किस को असाइन किया ये कैसे पता चलेगा?
ग्रुप में डाला है ना, किधर गया, हाँ ये प्रोजेक्ट एम्प्लॉय रमेश, प्रोजेक्ट डिटेल्स
ओके
वराली, लाइक दिस। ओके,
ओके
अगर आपको करना है काम तो यहाँ पे ये 2 पेज अपने बाकी है। एम्प्लॉय में अपन ने ऐड किया है और लिस्ट दिखाई है, एडिट और डिलीट नहीं किया, तो ये आप कर सकते हो। अपडेट का
ठीक है।
एपीआई कॉल इंटीग्रेट करना है और डिलीट का, तो कोड करो और मुझे दे दो, या फिर मैं एक्सेस दूंगा तो आप कोड पुश भी कर सकोगे। ओके,
ओके सर, आई विल गिव इट टू यू
एम्प्लॉय
द
का करो,
कोड।
और किसी को और करना है तो क्लाइंट में गेट एपीआई कॉल नहीं किया अपन ने तो वो कर सकते हो। अपन ने शायद क्लाइंट में सिर्फ पोस्ट किया है। ओके, गेट एपीआई कॉल नहीं किया और एडिट और डिलीट भी बाकी है, सो ये कर सकते हो। आपके प्रोजेक्ट में कोड करो और मुझे पुश करो, मतलब कोड सेंड कर देना, मैं इंटीग्रेट कर दूंगा। ओके, ओके फाइन, so let's connect in the evening again. So only Ramesh and Priyanka I think has sent me the question JavaScript. Okay, everyone, those who are actually giving the interview, let me know the questions which you want me to explain. We will go through in the evening. Otherwise, uh, or tomorrow is the Saturday now. So tomorrow can we connect in the uh, afternoon around means 10 11 instead of morning?
Yes.
We can just go through the JavaScript like hosting, closure, prototype. I will explain in a quick. Okay. Tomorrow also and the Sunday also we will sit in the afternoon and complete the JavaScript. 5 to 6 major topics are there now that I will explain. Okay.
We can attend interview sessions coming
Yeah.
classes, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
Doesn't
some
matter.
Angular concept do you want to repeat?
Yeah. Yeah. See, because I said yesterday ki if you are preparing right now, then only interview sessions will be helpful. Let's say if you are going to prepare after 6 months, na, whatever you are going to do, you won't remember. Again, you have to do the whole preparation. So batches are continuously running, right? And
Yeah.
I post it in the group also. So whenever you are preparing, you just have to let me know. I will add it in the current batch. Then you have to do the interview preparation. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine then. Let's connect today evening. Bye all.